Ex-wife discovers a shocking secret from her ex-husband. Is this the truth, or just a lie? Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Jessica Thompson had always thought her life was on a smooth path after her divorce from Michael. The years had passed, and she believed the past was just that, the past. But one ordinary afternoon, everything she knew about her ex-husband was about to change. It started with a simple phone call from an old friend of Michael's. It was the kind of call that didn't sound like it would amount to much, but when the name Michael was mentioned, Jessica's heart skipped a beat. The conversation was brief, but the few words exchanged were enough to spark a fire in Jessica's mind. Michael had been hiding something. Something big. At first, she dismissed it as a misunderstanding, a mistake, or maybe just gossip. After all, Michael had always been a private person, and they hadn't spoken much since the divorce. But the more she thought about it, the more the idea gnawed at her. Could it be true? Could Michael, the man she had spent so many years with, be hiding something that big from her? Jessica's curiosity quickly turned to obsession. She started to dig through old files, letters, and anything that might hold a clue. Each new discovery seemed to only raise more questions. But one thing was clear, there was a secret, and Jessica was determined to find out the truth. She couldn't shake the feeling that the life she had built since the divorce had been based on lies. The more she uncovered, the more she felt like she was stepping into a world she didn't recognize. She knew Michael well enough to understand that he wasn't someone who would openly share his secrets. But why now? Why was this secret coming to light after so many years? Jessica's mind raced as she thought about the implications. Was it possible that everything she knew about her marriage, her divorce, and even Michael himself was a lie? She had to know the truth, no matter where it led her. This discovery, if true, would change everything. Her world, her understanding of what had happened between them, and the future she had worked so hard to build, it would all be turned upside down. Jessica was about to dive deeper into a mystery that would challenge everything she believed about her ex-husband, and perhaps even about herself. As Jessica continued to search for answers, the more she uncovered, the more her suspicion grew. Days turned into weeks, and the haunting question lingered in her mind: what was Michael hiding? She had already gone through every possible piece of paper and file that could have had any significance, but nothing seemed to provide the clarity she needed. Then, one evening, as she was organizing a box of old photographs in the attic, she stumbled upon something unexpected. It was a letter, folded carefully and tucked away inside a small, unmarked envelope. The handwriting was unmistakable. It was Michael's. With trembling hands, Jessica opened the envelope, revealing a letter that would change everything. The letter spoke of a secret that Michael had kept from her during their entire marriage. It was a confession of sorts, but it didn't explain everything. It was vague, leaving Jessica to wonder if Michael had written it for her or someone else. It mentioned something about a person who had been part of his life for years, someone Jessica had never known about. Her heart raced as she read each word, trying to piece together the fragments of information in front of her. Could this be the secret that had been haunting her for so long? She wasn't sure, but she knew one thing for certain: she couldn't stop now. The letter raised even more questions than it answered. Jessica couldn't shake the feeling that Michael had been hiding more than just this person. She wondered if there was more to the story, something even deeper, something that could explain why their marriage had fallen apart. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing a side of Michael that she had never known. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that there was no turning back. She had to know the full truth. With determination, Jessica decided it was time to confront Michael. She couldn't keep living in the shadow of unanswered questions, and the pieces were finally falling into place. The following day, she reached out to him. The call wasn't easy, and when Michael answered, there was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. She could hear the tension in his voice before he even spoke. Jessica could feel her heart pounding as she asked him directly about the letter, about the person he had mentioned, and about the secrets he had been keeping. Michael's response was not what she expected. Instead of denying anything, he remained quiet for a long moment. Then, finally, he spoke, but his words only deepened the mystery. "Jessica," he said softly, "there's so much more to this story than you realize." His voice was calm, but there was an undeniable hint of unease. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. This was it. The moment she had been waiting for. She needed to know the truth, but would Michael finally reveal everything? Or was he about to spin another lie to cover his tracks? Jessica couldn't shake the feeling that she was on the verge of uncovering something far bigger than she ever imagined. I feel my heart racing as Michael's voice echoes in my head. His words linger. "There's so much more to this story than you realize." I could sense the hesitation in his voice, and it was clear that he wasn't willing to reveal everything. He wasn't denying it, but he also wasn't ready to open up fully. The silence between us stretched long, and for a moment, I wondered if I had made a mistake. Should I have even called him? Was this really the right time to uncover the truth, or was I risking even more than I bargained for? The question swirled in my mind as I tried to gather my thoughts. I couldn't afford to let him slip away again, not when I was so close. "Michael," I said, trying to steady my voice. "What are you talking about? What's going on?" There was a long pause, the kind of pause that made me think he was weighing his next words carefully. Then, finally, he spoke, his voice softer now, almost reluctant. "I've always kept this from you for a reason, Jessica," he said, his tone heavy with something I couldn't place. "You wouldn't understand. Not the way things really are." I could hear the distance in his words, like he was trying to put up a wall between us, and it frustrated me. I wanted him to just tell me everything, no more secrets. "Michael, I need to know," I insisted, my voice more forceful now. "You can't keep this from me. I have the right to know the truth." Another silence followed, and I felt the weight of those words, the gravity of what he was about to reveal. I wasn't sure if I was ready for it, but there was no turning back now. He sighed deeply, and when he spoke again, his voice had a different quality to it, a mixture of regret and sorrow. "It's about someone from my past," he said slowly, as though each word was carefully chosen. "Someone I never told you about. Someone who, well, let's just say they've been a part of my life for much longer than you think." The words hit me like a ton of bricks. Someone else? Who could he possibly be talking about? My mind raced, trying to put the pieces together. Could it be someone he had been involved with while we were married? My stomach churned at the thought. I knew I couldn't jump to conclusions, but the idea of there being another person involved was almost too much to bear. "Who is it, Michael?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Who is this person you've been hiding from me?" There was another long pause before he answered, his voice barely a whisper. "It's complicated, Jessica. It's not just black and white. But you need to know this. Everything you think you know, it's not the whole picture." My mind spun, and I felt like I was on the edge of something big, something that could shatter everything I had known about our life together. I didn't know what was true anymore, but I knew that I had to find out, no matter how painful it might be. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was on the verge of something monumental, something that could change the way I saw everything, especially Michael. As I sat there, the silence on the other end of the line became deafening. He had said that everything I thought I knew wasn't the whole picture, but what could that even mean? My mind raced through every possibility, every detail I had overlooked, every moment that now seemed like it held a hidden meaning. Who was this person? What was this secret? Michael's words echoed in my mind. "It's complicated, Jessica." That was not enough. I needed to know more. I could feel my frustration building. "Michael," I said, my voice trembling with both anger and fear. "You can't just leave me hanging like this. Who is this person you're talking about? Why didn't you tell me?" We were married. We shared everything. Why would you keep this from me? There was another long pause, and I knew he was struggling with his next words. I could feel the tension between us, but I wasn't going to back down. I deserved answers. I never meant to hurt you, Jessica, he finally said, his voice full of regret. But the truth is, I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know if you would understand, or if you would even believe me. I've kept this part of my life hidden for a long time. It's not something I'm proud of. My heart was pounding in my chest as I listened. I had never heard Michael sound so vulnerable before. He had always been the strong, confident one, the one who kept things to himself and never let anyone get too close. But now, he was opening up, and I wasn't sure how to process it. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. What aren't you proud of? For a moment, he said nothing. Then, his words came slowly, as if they were difficult for him to say. I was involved with someone else, he admitted. While we were married. My breath caught in my throat. The world seemed to stop for a moment. Someone else? While we were married? The idea was almost too much to bear. My mind spun as I tried to comprehend what he was saying. Was this the truth? Or was he just trying to make me believe something that wasn't real? I wanted to scream, to cry, to do something, but all I could do was sit there, stunned by the revelation. Who is she? I asked, barely able to get the words out. Her name is Sarah, Michael said, his voice full of shame. I never meant for it to happen, Jessica. I never wanted to hurt you, but it did. And I'd been carrying this guilt for so long. I didn't know how to fix it. His confession hung in the air between us, thick with the weight of everything it implied. I could feel the walls closing in on me as I processed the information. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage, about Michael, was now in question. Was this the truth? Or was there more to the story that he wasn't telling me? I felt as though the ground beneath me had shifted. Michael's confession was like a punch to the gut. For a moment, I was completely frozen, unsure how to react. Sarah. The name echoed in my mind, and with it came a flood of emotions I hadn't expected. Betrayal. Confusion. Anger. All these feelings collided inside me, and I couldn't figure out which one was more overwhelming. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I took a deep breath and asked the question that had been gnawing at me ever since he'd spoken Sarah's name. Why? Why didn't you tell me? We were married, Michael. How could you keep this from me? My voice shook, but I couldn't help it. This wasn't something I could just ignore. I was afraid, Jessica. He admitted, his voice soft, as though he was trying to make himself small, trying to make me understand. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I could handle it on my own. But I was wrong. I kept it to myself because I didn't know how to deal with it, and I didn't want to lose you. His words were filled with remorse, but they did little to calm the storm inside me. He had chosen to keep such a huge part of his life hidden, even from me, and now I had to face the consequences. So what now? I asked, struggling to keep my emotions in check. What are you expecting from me, Michael? For me to just forgive you? To act like nothing happened? The silence that followed was almost suffocating. I could hear Michael on the other end, his breathing heavy, but he didn't speak right away. Finally, he spoke again, this time with more hesitation. I don't know what I'm expecting, Jessica, he said quietly. I wanted you to know the truth. The whole truth. I couldn't live with this secret anymore. I never wanted to hurt you, and I'm sorry. The words hung in the air, but they didn't seem to do anything to repair the damage. How could they? How could anything make up for what he had done? The trust we had built over the years felt shattered, and I didn't know how to fix it, if it could even be fixed at all. You should have told me sooner, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You should have been honest with me from the start. Maybe then, we could have worked through it. But as I said those words, I realized something else. I wasn't sure if I could ever work through it. How could I trust him again after everything he had hidden from me? I know, Michael said, his voice breaking. And I regret not telling you. But I promise, Jessica, I'm done hiding. I want to be honest with you now, no matter what it takes. His words felt hollow, and I couldn't decide if I believed them. I wanted to, but there was so much hurt, so much betrayal. The silence between us stretched on again, but this time, it wasn't just the silence of uncertainty. It was the silence of two people who had once shared everything, now facing a chasm between them that seemed impossible to bridge. I didn't know where we went from here, but I knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be the same. I felt the weight of Michael's words hanging in the air. He said he was done hiding, but could I really believe him? Could I ever look at him the same way again after everything that had happened? The trust that had once defined our relationship seemed to have vanished, leaving only questions in its place. We had been through so much together, yet this secret had remained buried, a dark cloud that now overshadowed everything. I don't know if I can forgive you, Michael, I finally said, my voice quieter than I intended. I don't even know if I can look at you the same way again. You've changed everything, and I don't know how to deal with that. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I could feel Michael's regret even through the phone, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to undo the hurt, the betrayal, the years of hidden truths. I understand, Jessica, he said after a long pause. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I know I've broken something that can't be easily fixed. I just need you to know that I'm here, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. His words sounded sincere, but something deep inside me told me that it wasn't enough. I didn't know what making things right meant anymore. What could he possibly do to undo the damage he had caused? My mind raced with thoughts of what the future might hold. Could we rebuild from this? Could we ever go back to what we had, or was this the end of everything? I thought about the years we had spent together, the memories we had made. Had they all been lies? Was our entire relationship based on a foundation of secrets? I didn't know the answer, and the uncertainty was killing me. Michael, I don't know what to do, I said, the words finally spilling out of me. I feel like I don't even know who you are anymore. How can I trust you after everything you've hidden from me? There was a quiet, almost defeated sigh on the other end of the line. I know, Jessica. And I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me right now, and I don't want you to feel like you have to. But I just want you to know that I'm here. If you ever decide you want to talk, or if you ever need anything, I'm here. His voice cracked slightly, and for the first time, I realized how much this was hurting him too. But the pain I felt was different. It wasn't just about the betrayal. It was about the shattered trust, the realization that the man I had loved for so many years had been living a lie. I wasn't sure what to say. The conversation felt unfinished, like there was more to be said, but neither of us had the courage to say it. I'll think about it, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. I need time, Michael. I need time to figure out if I can even move forward from this. The line went silent again, and for the first time, I realized that this might be the end of something that had once seemed so unbreakable. I didn't know where I was going from here, but I knew I couldn't just ignore what had happened. The truth had been exposed, and now I had to decide what to do with it. I spent the next few days in a haze. The world around me seemed to move in slow motion, each moment dragging on, as if I were walking through a fog. Michael's words echoed in my head, and no matter how hard I tried to push them away, they kept coming back. I'd been carrying this guilt for so long, he had said. But guilt wasn't enough to fix what had been broken. How could it be? How could I just forgive him, move on, and pretend like everything was fine? The truth was, I didn't know if I could. My heart felt heavy with the weight of his confession, but my mind was still racing. I kept replaying our conversations, trying to piece together the past, to understand what had happened. Had I missed the signs? Had there been moments when I should have seen it? The more I thought about it, the more I realized how little I truly knew. Even after all these years together, there had been parts of him hidden from me, and now, I wasn't sure if I could ever trust him again. I tried to distract myself. I threw myself into work, called a few friends, even went out for a walk in the park. But no matter what I did, my thoughts always circled back to Michael. I hadn't spoken to him since that call. I wasn't ready. I didn't know what to say. What was left to say? I didn't know if I wanted closure, or if I was just afraid of the truth. It was a strange feeling, knowing that the person who had once been the center of my world was now someone I could barely recognize. I needed answers, but I didn't know if I was strong enough to hear them. The truth had a way of changing everything. It made me question not just him, but myself, too. What did I want from all of this? What did I expect him to do now? Could we ever rebuild, or was this the end? One evening, I finally decided that I had to face him again. I couldn't keep living in limbo, not knowing where I stood. I needed to hear his side, one more time. So I called him. When he answered, his voice was tentative, almost as if he wasn't sure how I would react. "Jessica?" he asked, sounding cautious. "I'm here," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, though it cracked slightly. "We need to talk." The words felt heavy, but there was no turning back now. Michael was silent for a moment, then he sighed deeply. "I know," he said quietly. "I know I messed up, and I don't expect you to forgive me. But I'm here, Jessica. I'll listen, whatever you need to say." His words weren't perfect, but they were a start. I took a deep breath and began, unsure of where this conversation would lead. "I don't know what I want from you anymore, Michael," I admitted. "But I need to know the full truth. I need to understand what happened, why this happened." I could hear him take a deep breath on the other end of the line. This was the moment of truth. Would he finally open up completely, or was he going to hold back once again? I took a deep breath as I waited for Michael's response. My heart was pounding in my chest. This was the moment. The moment I would finally get all the answers, or at least I hoped I would. I needed closure. I needed to understand what had happened, why everything had changed so suddenly, and why Michael had kept this secret from me for so long. After a long pause, Michael finally spoke, his voice heavy and filled with regret. "I should have told you everything, Jessica. I should have trusted you enough to let you in on this part of my life. But I didn't. And I'm sorry. I thought I could handle it on my own, but I was wrong." He took a deep breath, as if preparing himself for what was to come. "It wasn't just about Sarah. There's more to it than that. I didn't just hide this because I thought it would hurt you. I kept it to myself because I was afraid of what it would mean for us, for our marriage. I didn't want to lose you, Jessica. And I thought, if I kept it hidden, maybe it would go away. But it didn't. It never went away." I listened in silence, trying to make sense of his words. "So what exactly happened?" I asked, my voice trembling. "How did it even start?" Michael sighed again, and for a moment, I could hear the pain in his voice. "It started before we got married. There was someone I met when I was younger, someone who became important to me in ways I couldn't explain. It wasn't like what we had, Jessica. It was different. But it was real. And I kept going back to her, even when I was with you. I know that doesn't make sense, and I can't explain why I did it. But I did. And I've been living with that guilt ever since." His words hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt like the ground beneath me was crumbling. For years I had thought we had a strong, solid relationship, built on love and trust. But now, it felt like everything was falling apart. "So all this time you were seeing her?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Even when we were together?" Michael's response was soft, almost apologetic. "Yes," he said. "But I didn't want you to know. I didn't want to hurt you. And I didn't want to lose you. But I realize now that by hiding it, I lost you anyway." The weight of his confession was overwhelming. My thoughts were spinning. I didn't know how to process all of this. How could I possibly trust him again after everything he had hidden from me? How could I rebuild from this? Michael's voice interrupted my thoughts. I never wanted to hurt you, Jessica. I was just selfish. I didn't think things through, and now I see the damage I've caused. I know I can't undo what's been done, but I want to try to make it right. If you'll let me. His words hung in the air, and I could feel the tension between us. I didn't know if I could forgive him, if I could ever see him the same way again. But I knew one thing for sure, things would never be the same. Everything had changed, and I wasn't sure where to go from here. I stood there, feeling a deep emptiness inside. Michael's words echoed in my mind, but they didn't seem to fill the void. I wanted so badly to understand, to feel like everything he said could make things right, but it just wasn't enough. Could I really forgive him? Could I move forward with a man who had hidden such a huge part of his life from me for so long? My heart was torn between wanting to believe him and the undeniable truth that the trust we had built over the years had been shattered beyond repair. I don't know if I can do this, Michael, I said quietly, my voice breaking. I don't know if I can just forget everything and go back to the way things were. You've hurt me, and I don't know how to heal from that. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. I could hear Michael's breathing, but he didn't speak right away. When he did, his voice was soft, almost pleading. I understand, Jessica, he said. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, and I don't expect things to go back to normal right away. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it right. I just need you to know that I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. I wanted so badly to believe him, to believe that we could fix this, but the reality of it all hit me harder than I expected. There was so much damage, so many unanswered questions, and I wasn't sure I was strong enough to face it all. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly. I need time, Michael, I said. I can't make any decisions right now. I need space to think, to figure out what I really want. The words felt like a weight lifting off my chest, but also like a wall going up between us. He was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke again, it was with a quiet resolve. I'll give you all the time you need, Jessica. I just want you to know that I'm here, and I'm not giving up on us. But I understand if you need to walk away. I'll respect whatever you decide. His words stung, but they also felt like the truth. The reality was that I didn't know what I wanted anymore. I didn't know if I could ever trust him again, or if I could find a way to forgive him for what he had done. I felt lost, uncertain, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't sure what the future held. I'll think about it, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I don't know right now. The conversation ended there, but the questions lingered. Could we rebuild? Could we move past this betrayal, or was this the end of our story? I didn't have the answers, and I wasn't sure if I ever would.